Yacht, hey, welcome to Navajo Sage Weaver Tarot's channel. Welcome, guys. Welcome to my channel. I am going to do Aquarius's reading. So this is a reading for my Aquarius. I'm going to shake the gourd to move any stagnation. Okay, so Aquarius, I hope I said Aquarius. This is your reading, Aquarius. And I just want to say thank you for everybody who watches my videos. I appreciate it. And we are starting here with the Queen of Inspiration. And the Queen of Inspiration kind of, maybe bringing in this creativity. And what I see here is some strings, going up and down. And it reminded me of like a guitar, some sort of sound. So there's a sound maybe that you're trying to tune in, you know, moving with your hands, these pyramids, trying to figure out what frequency, that you want to create on. Sometimes going within, sometimes you can do that, but sometimes we forget, when we want something, you have to, you know, um, make it happen, right? You have to have this attitude here with the Queen of Inspiration, bringing it in and having that motivation, the vision that you want for yourself in your life, in your journey. We're all different. We all want something. And sometimes listening, is better. Sometimes you might hear something, quiet, you know. So, Aquarius, so we're trying to tune into something. And then we have run into the Five of Swords. And this is kind of like that, I'm not gonna let anybody get in the way, I'm gonna do it. And sometimes we kind of fall off our path, right? We know we have to be with ourselves, right? Like meditation. We have to listen to our bodies, our mind, what are these things talking, telling us, and sitting within and quiet and just breathing, you know. And then sometimes we get tempted, right? Aquarius, sometimes we get tempted, with our um addictive behaviors, whatever throws you off the path, but still finding that, that five of voices, facing those conflicts and, having disagreement, maybe with yourself. Um, and, spirit here, maybe you tuned in somewhere, right? Maybe you took a trip, somewhere that was sacred and listen and kind of forgot about that. And sometimes, and the frequency is now connecting, like here and here, see the light finally getting connected and, you know, but now you're probably not allowing it, because so these experiences you're feeling, like maybe some sort of betrayal makes you, triggers those addiction, addictive stiffness, kind of pulls us off, a little bit. But, working hard to get back on balance sometimes, sometimes we need to um see through you know, these challenges, because, you know, now when you do that, right? When you allow spirit to come in and help you, right? And you start, aid of materials here. If you can see, she's working, putting those rose petals, at wherever she wants, moving, having that strength, getting organized, trying to um, make this desire of what this Queen of Inspiration is. And then sometimes, here with the Five of Voices, right? We have to face that conflict, fight those inner demons, fight those ones, that come in sometimes, right? Those addictive behaviors, sometimes listening to ourselves and, you know, having competition, sometimes can bring that out. If you're uh trying to work towards something, so um you don't want you don't want those things to come in um and ruin it. So you're fighting. Um you're using your wand here, Aquarius. You're standing your grounds and you're fighting, whatever this desire you're working towards. And then you move to the Five of Pentacles here, yeah, whatever your desire, that moving towards, sometimes, we struggle and we have to work hard and not allow certain things to come in, and get back on balance. And yeah, sometimes the financial, our pockets get hurt, you know. Mhm. Some of us may not be fortunate, right? And but some of us are. But sometimes, we have to learn how to work with that, and sometimes uh the pinnacles can get in the way. So maybe something you're struggling with that, whether it's maybe not working on a lot of hours, something that's taken away from your financial, whether it's not working, and you have to fight that, you have to work towards that, and it's not easy. Then you have the Two of Swords here, Aquarius, facing them, making a decision, you know, finding that clarity, you're like, okay, gotta go within, hearing that frequency. She has her eyes closed here. You have your eyes closed here, listening, making sure to trust your intuition on where you want to, you know, go push that target where your desire is, right? The the Two of Swords, trying to make that right choice. And then you have the um nine nine of cups here coming in, Aquarius, being content, being grateful, trying to look at things in a positive way, looking within, right? That's, you know, working really hard, and trying to choose the right path, the right direction, whatever feels good for Aquarius. And getting in touch with yourself. Here's that, getting connected to that frequency. Sometimes, here next we have the Six of Swords. Sometimes, we have to move forward and let go of some stuff, you know, some let go of cut ties, to whatever, these things, material things sometimes can be burdens, maybe something like doesn't have to be so big, because small changes really change things, everything, the energy. Um, like if you cut off Netflix or cut something off, right? Like an app, you know, and it's hard detachment, it's so you have to say goodbye, so it doesn't hurt your pinnacles so you can gain more, trying to figure out where you want, where that is. So with the Six of Swords, just, saying goodbye to things and, you know, feeling it, but spirits over here saying, come on, there's other greater things, row your boat this way, and then you have the Knight of Inspiration here, like, okay, I'm gonna follow the light, right? I'm going to celebrate. So the Knight of Inspiration, is moving, you finally got that clear direction where you want to go, Aquarius, you know, and then you move into the Six of Pentacles, you know, being generous, sometimes, you know, moving that energy, right, of um learning how to uh um have equal exchange, um so that way that energy is always going, whether it's like maybe giving back to, people that help you, or um people, in your community, maybe you're able to give back in a way that um can make a f- make these pinnacles, right? These exchange, barter, however um you interact with your community. So we have Aquarius being generous here, using your resources to help others, find that joy too, And then you next card is, the Temperance here, seeking balance, um, that clarity, you know, you have to make some sort of decision, right? Um, right? Because here with the Five of Swords, you were not letting anything in, and finally, Spirit's like, you know, bringing the light, the frequency, then you started moving your own that energy because you're the only one, Aquarius, that you can do that. Fighting off, fighting within yourself, um, the urge, right, of letting Netflix go or some sort of app. Um, and then a subscription, right? I should say that. And being able to know it's going to take you in a different direction, give you that sense of like you're working towards your goal with the Nine of Cups, being in touch within yourself, letting it, letting your subscriptions go, cutting the cords, you know, figuring out what are you gonna do with that time now, right? That you have it, so it doesn't, you're not overworking, and you have the Night of Inspiration coming in, having that clear vision, you know, using that resources, right? That was taking from you maybe, and now it's moving in your journey, and the Temperance here, is being vulnerable and these spirit guides maybe trying to come in or within yourself, the um positive and negative attribute of who you are. Finally, you stop fighting with that, right? And once you did, or maybe your spirit guides, um, but whatever you were not letting in, you let it in, and um, letting go of those things change. Now you have a different path here, Then you have run into the Queen of Swords, making uh, decisions and overcoming, you know, overcoming obstacles. So, now you're like maybe 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 something, right? Whatever this was holding, making you have to say goodbye, so you don't hurt your financial. You're putting on a chain right here. You're like stepping on it and you're like, I don't think so. I'm no longer a subscription. As hard as it is to let it go with the Six of Swords, you're standing your grounds, and you're making sure you're using that energy because you're feeling something, Aquarius, right? Then you have the Four of Pentacles, Aquarius holding your bag here. Um, because you want to be cautious this time, you know, this time of this whatever inspiration you're trying to work towards, you know. And then here with the Four of Swords, taking a rest, maybe you need a rest, maybe you need some fluid, drink water, um, take care of yourself in the way that, can give you strength enough to do your Eight of Materials, to give you your strength back, so you can have that clarity. Because you have the Queen of Wands right here, Aquarius. This queen right here, she's knows how to guide her light, right? Just holding that staff, and she can shine it, wherever she wants to. And, she's very regal, right? Because, she has a um, peacock as her dress, very takes care of herself after this. Now you're shining again with the Queen of Wands here, feeling that confidence again, being inspired, being motivated, because you had that equal exchange here. And then you run into the Four Materials, you know, really focusing on that security, that stability that you've been seeking, that's trying to come in, spirit, trying to help you, show you the way. So with the Four Materials, you're trying to think about, maybe looking at, certain things for your future. Um, letting go of stuff, right? That hurt the pocket, you know. Maybe it's, here's a camel in the Four Materials. And maybe, you had to cut, the nicotine out, and it changed you, right? So something, that's can change, and everything can change, when we make those decisions, sometimes small things like that, getting that rest. Because now it makes you think different, so um with the Four Materials here, carefully managing your resources now. And then again, Temperance right here, two of them right after another, being patient, right? Healing, right? Now you're finding ways, mixing things together, maybe trying to find a formula for yourself, right? Of what this frequency is saying to you, what made you become very rebellious here, what hurt your finances, making you feel that you have to stand up for yourself to take a rest. You know, what what are you going to do, here with the Temperance, seek trying to heal and restore something within yourself, maybe. Um, like I said, giving up like cigarettes changes your being. And then the devil, those temptations that we have to look at within ourselves, that make us that hold us back, like you can drink, right? But there's consequences with drinking, it never ends well. And we know that. And sometimes we have those temptations, and sometimes it's hard to break away. And when you start breaking away from it, then it, you know, makes us like this devil here, makes us look at ourselves, deeper. And it doesn't feel good because we don't realize sometimes what we're hiding, or, you know, allowing ourselves to be puppets, right? Because sometimes when you alter that mind, you can be a puppet, be connected to something, that's not good for you, for your mind, so simple things too, like, maybe too much, you know, internet, um, and detaching, from those things, trying to find that frequency so you don't, you can look at the devil, you can look within, you don't have to be in it all, you can always change it, right? You can, you know, rest, tune into a different frequency. Because then you have the Queen of Wands when you do that, Aquarius, you know, embracing all your charisma, all your light, right? With the strength next, you know, using because you took rest, right? Then you trying to let go, trying to figure out the balance between letting it go, knowing those temptations, right? Because he had him tied right up here on the boat and not being stuck in that energy. And you come out, it changed to Temperance, making us look at it from a different perspective now, because we are now no longer allowing it to be controlled. We're no longer trying to control it, right? And then finding that strength, lining up your chakra. When sometimes when you give up smoking, or giving up soda, or, something that's not that, it's not good, but if you give it up, for a month, right? It, every day that you don't put it in your body, it changes, it changes you every day. Um, so you're lining up, start to line up, get you build yourself in a higher frequency, maybe drinking water sometimes, until you get the fluid here. Then you have the Three of Wands here. You're like taking charge, as you can see, she's brought the uh the ship out of the ocean, brought it to her, and she's going to, you know, do the work, right? The Queen, I mean the Three of Wands here, you know, um you're all the possibilities that you're going to, connect with here with the Three of Wands. And sometimes, we have to go in the Four of Cups, Aquarius, reflecting within ourselves, maybe what temptations, right? What things that we have to let go of, maybe attached to something that's nostalgia about our past. So sometimes we reflect on that, learning how to let go of those pains, um, every time we take charge of our lives here, right, Aquarius? And then, after you feel it, look at it, maybe looking at some pictures, feeling the feeling, missing it. Then you go into the Ten of Pentacles here. You're feeling that success. So whatever you're working towards, there's going to be success. Put in the work, letting go of things, taking the rest to heal yourself. Nobody can heal you. Nobody lives in your shoes, Aquarius. And then, you have the Knight of Pentacles here, being committed, forcing, remaining focus on your goal, um, and like you now you got a horse, your transportation here, runs smooth like a horse, right? Or maybe your spirit guide is a horse, So Aquarius, it looks like, whatever you're doing, you're tuned into that frequency and maybe fell off a little bit and getting realigned and working really hard, feeling proud about it, looking at the Queen of Wands, bringing, bringing and starting upon, your goals, being in action, reflecting on the pain because you let it go here and moving forward with the Knight of Pentacles. Um, So I'm going to pull a daily healing card for Aquarius. All right, Aquarius, it says express love through your deeds. All right, Aquarius, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to do your reading. I hope this helped you in any way. I just want to say, Hojona has clean, Hojona has clean, Hojona has clean, Hojona has clean.